Buongiorno and welcome to my podcast, My Way of Thinking, or My What for short, hosted by me, Lee Greeno, here live from the man cave every week. Hope you're doing well. The reason I'm touching my tongue at the minute, I've just burnt my tongue on a bloody drink. You know when you just grab hold of a drink? It was a green tea, so it was healthy, and but the problem is it's boiling water and my tongue hurts. So if I'm talking like this, you know why. Anyway, right. Now, my way of thinking is all about us amazing human beings that all have a story to tell. Now, those stories can vary massively, but with the guests I'll be interviewing, you'll always be able to take a little bit of advice or insight into how extraordinary we can all be. Remember, 4 rules: 1, no bullshitting; 2, no judging; 3, no negativity; and 4, have fun. Now, today I am speaking to the brilliant Jack Street. Love Jack. Have a great conversation with him. Bit of politics. I always said be a bit careful about talking to politics, but this guy, this young man, has got a wiser head on his shoulders than the majority of MPs in the House of Commons at the minute. Trust me, everything he says, it's just great. It's so refreshing to not listen to the usual bullshit from MPs. But anyway, you make up your own mind. But I'm sure you'll enjoy the podcast and this episode either way. So make sure you keep listening. This is my conversation with Jack. So welcome to My Way of Thinking. And today we have a very special guest. His name is Mr. Jack Street. Good morning, Jack. You all right?
Morning, I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. Thanks ever so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm really happy to be here.
It's always trying to link dates on diaries is always a pain in the arse.
Yeah. Well, especially that's the problem with podcasts and stuff, because I think everyone, especially at the moment, has got so much coming up short notice and match everyone's dates in, and that's tough.
Yeah, but we got there in the end. It's funny because you can use a diary. I don't know if you've seen it. You can use this Calendly, I think it's called, diary thing, where you can set what hours you're available and people can click on it and say, oh, yeah, but it don't work as well. People click on it and then you go, oh, shit, I've got some.
Well, life gets in the way of this stuff as well, doesn't it?
I know, yeah. I love these people that are so precise. Yeah. They plan it, 15 minutes. Yeah, I've got 15 minutes for you there. I'm like, what? Anyway, yeah, thanks so much for coming on, Robert. It's all about you today and having a good convo. But first of all, I always like to start with a couple of funny stories.
Sure.
I tend to read the news. I guess you read the news a lot as well, and there's a lot of crap in there. So we always go on to the funny stories at the end just to lift me up, especially at the minute, because it's like, oh, I'm doing
Yeah, it's important,
Yeah. So anyway, here's a couple of funny ones. Well, funny. This one's not so funny, but I don't know if you've seen it. Amazon have removed a distasteful coronavirus Halloween mask from sale. So Halloween masks made to look like COVID-19 have been pulled from sale after complaints they made light of the killer disease. The masks in bright green with red grinning faces have been advertised on Amazon for $14.59. They were listed for sale from Guangdong, China. That's so wrong. And the title was Corona Halloween Mask. The firm selling it was listed as Waifu EU or something. Rachel Power, chief executive of the Patent Association, told The Sun the masks have show a terrible lapse of judgment by the manufacturers and sellers. I've no doubt the great majority of people will find them hugely distasteful, and I can't imagine people would want to wear one. A spokesman for Amazon said all sellers must follow our selling guidelines, and those who do not will be subject to auction, including potential removal of their account. We are removing this product. It's really distasteful, isn't it, from Amazon?
Yeah.
I mean, because it actually got on there, I think, for a few days, and the mask is awful.
Is it really? I haven't heard this. I haven't seen. So, like with all this stuff, I think Amazon, a private company, they've got the right to regulate what they have on their site and that kind of thing. And obviously, they're beholden to their shareholders, and they've got to think about what's going to look good in the public interest and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So of course they're gonna look at this stuff and say, right, this is probably not something that we should be selling, and take it down. Do I really have? If somebody wants to buy a Corona mask and wander around in a Corona mask, do I think it's you know, I don't love it personally, but should they be able to do it if they really want to? Yeah, I don't see why not. But
it's pretty distasteful.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it's pretty.
And I can see why they'd want to take it down.
I think the thing is the mask is horrific. That's the first thing.
Right,
But I think the second thing is, you know, even if we haven't had coronavirus ourselves, you know, a lot of us now are starting to know people that have had it. And God forbid, you know, someone that's died from it. That'd be pretty horrendous.
You always see this kind of thing popping up around Halloween, don't you? People dressing up in sort of costumes to, you know, for a bit of the shock factor and to offend a little bit. And it's
and I think it's going to happen because we've got Halloween coming up, and it just worries me a little bit because, you know, I'm all for free speech and do what you want, but I think we have to be a little bit because it's caused so much shit this year. You know, it really is one of those things that I think we'll look back on and we're like, we won't make light of this. Well,
it's about respect in a lot of ways, isn't it? It's like I think people should be able to be disrespectful and distasteful if they want to. I don't think it should be illegal.
But,
of course, as a society, we should be going like really look at how this has impacted people. You know, as you say, lots of people have been affected really awfully by this, and when you look at people that have passed away and their families haven't been able to see them before they've died and stuff, it's really horrific. And I think you're right.
Yeah. This is what I got you on, Jack. See, you're so reasoned, aren't you? So level-headed. It makes me sick. Makes me sick how level-headed you are.
I'm sure we'll get onto this, but I think you know where we like one of the reasons that I started in the media outlet that I run was because of this. It was like me and friends going to the pub and being really frustrated with what the kind of news we were seeing and the conversations that were going on, and thinking somebody needs to start doing this a little bit differently. And I think the key is being able to talk and have a decent conversation, because I mean we'll talk about this later on, but I think it's all turned a bit shitty where it's more of a slanging match. Let's have a convo. You know, your side, my side, what, you know, let's start not going Mardy but anyway, we'll get onto that. Right, let's have a fun story now. This one will make you laugh. So a passenger's revolting act on a busy train has had people dry heaving. Now, you wonder what this is. A man has been slammed for picking his bare feet on a busy train, with people saying the repulsive behaviour made them dry heave. The stomach-churning footage, which has been shared on Instagram, shows a passenger brazenly picking the skin off the feet. I've seen this, it's sick. But to make matters worse, another clip shows the man dropping the skin on the floor. The brief video sees a man casually picking off skin from the bottom of his feet before he drops the dead skin on the floor. Since being posted, it's received thousands of likes, hundreds of comments. One said, "I dry heaved." Another one said, "What's wrong with people?" One person joked, "At least he's wearing a mask." But this isn't the first passenger to be criticised for their transport etiquette. A video of a man's bare feet resting on an armrest was one shamed account. And then it says, in the clip, you see a pair of feet leaning on the armrest before he goes to hook one big toe onto a piece of metal on the back of the chair. That's the other clip. But anyway, it says, understandably, everyone was disgusted and wasn't afraid to say so. That is pretty rank. My reaction initially was, what is wrong with people? I don't know what my reaction would be if I was sat on a train. The person next to me was flicking their dead foot skin onto the floor.
The British people, I tell you what, the British people are too polite, because if that happened in America, he'd end up in a big fight. Someone would kill him.
And it is so quintessentially British that something that grim is going on. Everyone just sits there in silence.
I know, takes a picture, put it on Instagram, and they'll be like turning away as if nothing happened. I'll be like, what the fuck? Oh, mate, it does make me laugh. And the other thing, what I thought about this is, which is quite interesting, he went viral. Now, if he was wise, and we all love a bit of marketing and PR, if he wanted to go viral, that's something he could have thought, right, I'll go on the train and do this. I mean, I don't know who the chap is, so I don't think he did want to. But if he wanted that publicity, what a way to do it. You know what I mean? It's gone viral now.
Yeah, well, there's all sorts of weird, like, I think one of the things with social media is that it's highlighted some of the more strange things that people are into. So I don't know if you know Dr. Pimple Popper. Have you seen this? It's this YouTube channel. She's got a show on, I think it's TLC as well. And all she does is she has a clinic, and she has people in, and she pops their spots.
Oh my God.
Records it, and these videos have got millions of views, and it's like this whole niche market. So it's like she's raking it in, and all she does, pops these rancid,
God,
like blackheads, whiteheads. It's grim. It's really
that
good.
is disgusting.
There's a gap in the market for it.
What makes me laugh is years ago, before social media and everything, you would have just been in the pub and someone would have said to you, "Oh, some guy was picking his feet on the train the other day." I'd be like, "You're joking? Yeah, it's disgusting. Get out of it. You're full of shit." Now,
I got proof.
It shows how weird people are, because everyone's got a camera now and can take pictures. I mean, the downside of that is obviously when there's, real nasty stuff on there, like racial stuff and stuff like that. But then it highlights that as well. So it works both ways. Doesn't it? That's the thing.
Sure.
We slag social media off in, when we don't like it, but when we like it, we love it. And you can't have it both ways. You got to, it's there. So
yeah, of course. Yeah.
Anyway, so there you go. There's a couple of stories.
I'll be honest. Lee, I wasn't expecting when I came on that was going to be one of the topics. So thanks for picking that up. I appreciate that. It's nice.
What I've done there is I've brainwashed you, Jack, because tonight, when you're about to go to sleep, you're going to be thinking this guy picking
Yeah, I will be, yeah. I'm going to go and find the video after we finish recording.
It'll mess you up. It messed
me up. I need to see it.
It messed me up. I'll tell you. Anyway, right. Lovely to have you on, Jack. Now, we've got lots to talk about, and obviously you've got a lovely setup there. I can hear you clearly. Beautiful. So, but let's first of all talk about you growing up. Now, whereabouts are you from, Jack?
Oh, Dartford in Kent.
Yeah, I thought it was right down London way. So, is that a posh area?
The Thames. Not particularly, no, but we're about half an hour from central London.
Yeah. So, down London way, then I suppose it's quite. I mean, it's always been expensive down there, hasn't it?
Yeah. Well, I'm quite sort of lucky because the way where I live in a village called Sutton at Hone, which is just on the outskirts of Dartford. So we're kind of removed from the centre. There's a lot of it's about as countryside-y as you can get in this part of the world. So it's a little bit more removed from the centre of town. Yeah. But then you've got the Dartford town centre, which isn't. It's not horrible, but it's not lovely.
Yeah. That's nice. That's not. I think a lot of people would like that setup though. Yeah. Ultimately, to be on the outskirts, and then when you need to, you can pop in, and you can pop back out. Yeah. You know what I mean? But you've got none of the hustle or bustle day to day. Yeah, exactly. Actually living in London. Which I mean, I love London. I love the buzz of it. I go down there sometimes for film stuff and stuff like that. But I couldn't live there. No.
Yeah, so for me, it's just the norm, I guess. So my girlfriend lives in the Forest of Dean.
Oh yeah,
border. Absolutely beautiful. I'd never been out there before, and it's like completely, it's a completely different world.
Yeah.
She's come from this really secluded part of the world. The closest city is like a 40-minute drive.
Yeah.
It's like it's really nice for me to go and see the difference. And then when she comes down to London and sort of sees this, it's completely different for her as well. So I think I couldn't imagine anything else in a lot of ways apart from living next to a big city.
So tell us a bit about growing up then, Jack, and how you got on growing up family wise and stuff like that.
Yeah, like a pretty ordinary upbringing, really. I think I lived in I was born in Chatham, and then lived in Barking for a year, and then moved to Dartford, and I've lived here or around here ever since. Went to pretty ordinary school, ordinary upbringing, very political upbringing. So that's kind of how I got into politics. We'd spend a lot of the time sitting around the dining table having debates and stuff, even from a really young age.
Is that what did your mum and dad do? Are they political or what?
My mum used to work for a company called Lloyd's Register. She was a shipping surveyor, but then she was made redundant and started working for Citizens Advice Bureau.
Oh, right, okay.
Now for Age UK, and she does sort of benefits advice for elderly people.
Yeah.
So like really important work and really community focused.
Yeah. So I bet that's full of topics all the time. You could talk all day about that, couldn't you? Some of the topics.
Well, she grew up in Essex and London, so she spent a lot of time selling. She used to sell the Socialist Worker paper when she was younger, so quite a left wing family.
Yeah.
and so lots of debate and that kind of thing, and very much political work, politically focused. Like, you know, so I didn't really have a choice. You know, we kind of had to be, we had to be aware of what was going on in the world, and we were always surrounded by conversations and that kind of thing. So it's always been what I was interested in. And then at secondary school, did A levels and went off to university. Went to Portsmouth and studied politics at university. I had a great time in Portsmouth, you know, and then started my own business out of university, just kind of because there wasn't loads of work that was necessarily accessible to me, and it was something that I kind of thought, if not now, then when. So dove straight into it, and then obviously COVID happened and that kind of thing.
So when you went to university, you studied politics. This is something, you know, I will guess you're passionate about, and it's something you want to study. And what was the ultimate goal? Did you think, oh, I want to be, you know, I want to be counsellor, or I want to, what were you thinking, or didn't you know?
I think when I was younger, it was always with a view to probably ended up running to you know, to be an MP or something one day. That was always what I wanted to be when I was younger. Kind of a bit more. I've always been quite like optimistic and aspirational, and but especially when I was younger. And the first thing that I learned when I started studying politics was that I didn't want to be a politician.
Yeah.
I think that was you know, because I think it was when I was at school, I was the only one that was really, really, really interested in politics. So like we were saying about having conversations, a lot of the conversations I was having was just me blurting stuff, and then people going, oh, Jack's going on a rant about politics again.
Yeah.
And then going to uni, and you're surrounded by people who are way more intelligent than you. They know way more. And then so you get taken down a peg or two. And I was like, all right, maybe it wouldn't be as easy as I imagined, or it wouldn't be maybe, you know, like the smooth ride I thought it would be.
Do you think do you think that's quite sad that you don't want to be an MP now? It's almost sort of, you've seen the other side of it, and you're thinking, you know, fuck that, why would I want to do that? Do you think that's sad?
Maybe a little bit. I think it's something that I'd consider further down the line, maybe. But I think, first of all, I think that MP should always have quite good experience in the world. I don't think, you know, necessarily running to be an MP at my age now at 22 would be a fantastic thing to do. But I think that a lot of people are switched off from that kind of thing because it seems so inaccessible to people, because what do they really? Not a lot of people really know what members of parliament do. There's not loads of role models from different communities, and I think that I felt, or I still feel, that I could get more achieved, or I could do more good, sort of doing what I'm doing now rather than being an MP. I hate a lot of the party politics and the infighting and that kind of stuff. That really turns me off, and that's a lot of what goes on, even at a local level. Where it just doesn't need to happen. Like even at a parish council level, you would be shocked at the amount of like party politics that goes on. And you're talking about like the bins, where the bins are going to get collected, and like clearing away a path or something. And it's,
it's a shame. It's sort of, I think a lot of people have lost confidence, and as the years go by, nothing's happened to make everyone start thinking, to build the confidence back up. I mean, I remember the expenses scandal when we had that really knocked people, you know, and other things have happened. We've had Brexit, you know, now we've got Corona, and everyone, and I mean the media are a big, you know, blame a lot of it on that. But I think for me, I'm not very political, you know, but I like to follow things. But I think there's nothing building confidence in me. I'll see MPs arguing, like you say, on Question Time about silly things like, what the, you know, well, you're in charge of the country. You've got a massive, you can speak, you can be heard, and it's tittle-tattle. And you think, Christ. And I think that happens to the majority of people. When they see that, they just think, what's the point? You know, who is running the country? And it not really knocks everybody, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so, and that's definitely what I mean. How many people have actually sat down and spoken to their MP? And what we've forgotten is that they work for us. It's not the other way around. They are accountable to us.
Yeah.
And how many people have really, sat down and spoken to their MP, or had their MP come and invite them, come and tell me what your issues are, tell me what your problems are. I organised at the last election a hustings debate with the candidates to be MP in Dartford. And one of the candidates didn't turn up because they obviously didn't think it was worth their time. And it was all young people there because my company is based on getting young people involved in politics. And what message is that sending to them?
I know.
You can't even be bothered to this. We had about 100 young people there willing to put questions towards members of parliament, and you can't be bothered to show up. I mean,
yeah, and that's the problem now. And we had a problem with my daughter's school, and I was pretty unhappy about a decision, and so I thought, well, I'm going to email the local MP. And just say, can you explain things? Nice email. Look, I'm good at writing emails. Been doing it for many years. Not got back. I got an automatic reply. We're really busy at the minute, but we'll get back to you. That was months and months ago. Now, to me, that's totally knocked me now. I think you're an arsehole. And I think the problem is now with MPs, there's very good ones. Don't get me wrong, but they're few and far between. And that's the problem. Do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's very difficult, especially if you live. I'm not. Who is your MP? Is it
Marcus Jones?
Right. It's very difficult to then hold that MP to account. We don't have the best, in my opinion, electoral system in this country. So if you have an MP that is, if say I'm in a more conservative area, and your MP, you don't feel like your MP in the constituency is doing a very good job. A lot of people, I think, vote based on the party more so than the member of parliament. And the problem there is that if you have a bad MP, it's going to be incredibly difficult to vote them out with the system that we've got. So first of all, we need a new electoral system that makes MPs more accountable. There needs to be ways where you can say to your MP, if he doesn't respond to your email and doesn't try and sort out the problem, you can go to him and say, I emailed you about this. Why didn't you? You work for me. This is your job. You get paid a bloody good salary to do it.
But why should that have to happen? And that's the annoying thing is I make lists. People will email me about stuff, and I'll always get back. And if I don't get back, I'll make a note, because then I can remember to get back to them. And if I don't, I feel terrible. Now this guy's got a secretary, God knows who else. Even if he'd have said, "Oh, can you just email back and say this," but to just totally disregard you, that really pisses me off.
Yeah, of course.
What I mean? And that's it now. He's done that, and that's it. And I think the problem is he serving people where it makes a difference, and he thinks it makes a difference. And then when you get the little inquiries, they're not that important. Do you see what I mean? And that's wrong, because those little inquiries, he doesn't know who I know, what say I have. You know what I mean? You've got to be so careful this day and age.
And it's the principle of treating everybody the same. So whether it's a small little problem or whether it's a massive problem, you put the same amount of effort in to helping each person, because ultimately you want to get voted in again. And as you say, if you're somebody that in your local community has a decent amount of influence, and you go around and say to people, I had this problem, and they not only did they not try and help me, but they completely ignored my emails. That gets round, and then the reputation starts to get soured, and that's how you eventually, hopefully, start properly being held accountable at the ballot box. And that's kind of why what I'm about is increasing that engagement, getting people involved, so that we can really start to hold politicians to account properly, especially for young people, because I think that's the area where that's the area that politicians ignore most, specifically because a lot of young people either don't vote or don't yet have the vote. They don't feel like they need to do things for kids because they're not going to vote for them.
I mean, I'm older and I've lost confidence. If, like my son, 18, he ain't going to talk about politics. He hears me ranting and he's thinking, what's the point? what's the point? And that's a terrible thing to have, because it's a very important point we've all got to say. But I have wrote it down now, and I am going to follow the idiot up. Now you've said you fired me up.
I'm glad. I'm glad.
Yes, you work for me. I'm gonna. I better not stand outside town hall. Actually, but I'm gonna email him. You work for me, buddy.
yeah, absolutely. But that's the case. If either of us have a job and our boss asks us to do something, and we don't do it, we're going to be held accountable for that, and it should work the same way. It's a confidence system. We say, right, we're going to give you permission to go and organise and vote on things that impact our lives, because we trust that you're going to do that in our best interests. And if you're not doing that in our best interests, there needs to be some kind of accountability held. I'm all for, in my perfect world, there's the MPs would have to do some kind of local surgery sort of thing, where people go along and they have to sit there until everybody has had their say, and we'd have we'd have a completely different electoral system, and et cetera, and everybody would vote, and that would be perfect.
But I think a lot of people nowadays are similar to me, maybe not really political one side or the other. So I couldn't say, I'll vote Labour, I'll vote. Years ago, the majority, this Labour, Conservative, one or the other. I'm sort of, to me, I don't care what party you're from. If you're a twat, you're a twat. You know what I mean? So if he'd have got back to me and he'd have been respectful and tried to help, even if he didn't get the solution, but he tried, that to me is a big tick. Nice guy, lovely guy. I don't give a shit if you're Tory. Do you see what I mean?
And you've always got that to go back to then, haven't you? When you see that name, you go, oh, that person was decent. That person, I've been around that person. They're a decent bloke. I'm going to vote for them. A lot of that is the kind of that politicians being so removed is what I think they've forgotten, is that really their job is to serve their constituents. It's not to spend all their time in Westminster being wined and dined by other interests. It's to serve us.
Yeah, and I mean, I understand with COVID, they're all busy, and I totally understand that, but I just think I don't know. Anyway, didn't take as long to get into a rant, did it?
No, it's good though. It's good. Yeah, I'm glad it's fired you up.
Well, this is what it's all about, and it's like I say about the show. It's all about conversations, and I think I put it in one of my intros or something like that. That these days we can't have a conversation anymore. You might believe in something, I might believe in something. Let's talk about it. Instead, what's happening? It's like being on a school ground playground, playground where and I think it's important. We talk it out because we're human beings.
Yeah,
we've got to respect each other more.
Absolutely, but I'm of the belief that most people can do that. Really, like me and you never met each other before. We're able to sit down now and have a really productive conversation about different stuff. And that is the majority of people. The problem is, as you sort of alluded to, mainstream media outlets at the moment. I don't want to dig them out too much, but because they do a lot of good stuff. But when you have these programs where you go, right, we've got this issue that really isn't really of that much importance, but we're going to get somebody from that extreme and somebody from that extreme, and we're going to spend 5 minutes debating an issue that could be quite complex, and they're just going to shout at each other. And that influences people at home, because it gets you, it gets your back up. So you get annoyed. You're not learning anything. There's no productive conversation. You don't come to some kind of solution at the end of it. Everyone leaves with a bitter taste in their mouth, and you achieve nothing. And really what we were saying when we were figuring out what we wanted to do, was that we want to facilitate these productive conversations where you can sit down maybe with somebody that you disagree with, and you talk about the issue and you try to arrive at conclusions and solutions and like figure out a way forward. And that is far more productive, and that gets people involved far more than, somebody says something you disagree with, you call them an idiot, they tell you to fuck off. Then, you're both angry and you achieve nothing. Because we've all got more in common than not. We really do.
But I think probably everything that's happening, especially with Brexit and stuff like that, has really divided us. It hasn't helped at all, has it?
No. So I think that it's needed more than ever to show people that you can sit down and have, normal conversations with people you disagree with. And I've got friends that are pro-Brexit, and I can still have a drink with them and we can still get on. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean that somebody's an awful person just because they have one belief that's a little bit different to yours.
Yeah, it's so important in life. And I think maybe because I'm getting a bit older and wiser now, and probably my wife's taught me this, but I wouldn't tell her that. But we have an argument and I'll be I strongly agree with what I'm thinking. And she strongly agrees, and we clash. Everybody clashes, have arguments. Mm-hmm. But what I'll do now, and I've found this is definitely over the last few years, is I'll step back and I'll think, hold on, think from her side. Just have a good think what she's thinking. And when I do that, I get a lot more empathy, and I start thinking then, and we calm down and we'll talk about it. But when I was younger, I would not, I'd think, I'm not backing down, I'm right. And like you say, it gets you nowhere. So I definitely think there's something to be said in just stepping back and think from their point of view. Because, they think they're right, you think you're right. Why do they think they're right?
Yeah.
If they're just being vicious and nasty, and then, that's a different ballgame. But I think majority of people just feel strongly about something. And they just need to step back sometimes and think, well, what are they thinking? Even if they don't agree, you can still think from that person, that other perspective, they're thinking, you're wrong. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's the assumption that people's intentions aren't bad. You don't go into a conversation thinking, you want the worst for me, or your side is malicious. It's like, there's a reason that this person believes something. Usually they've got the best intentions at heart. Try and figure out why this person believes that thing. Learn from their experiences, because our personal experiences, our life experiences impact us and our opinions and our politics. And of course they do. And you should always assume that you can learn something from the person that you're talking to, even if you don't agree with them on everything. And you're right. That should influence our conversations a lot more.
Yeah.
And trying to come to, like I say, trying to come to conclusions, because there's a lot of issues that we need to tackle that are going to really, really affect us going forward. Things like climate change and, as you say, Brexit and that kind of stuff that we need to sit down and productively tackle. And just shouting at each other isn't going to solve anything. We need to actually figure out a way to solve these issues.
I think you should definitely become an MP, Jack. I'm going to vote for you. I'll make a note now. Vote for Jack.
I appreciate it, mate. Thank you.
You've talked more sense than any of that shit on question time in the last 5 minutes. We should rule the country. I'll be like an advisor. You can be the main man. I'm getting, can't be.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah.
And when we get an email inquiry from someone and you say, Lee, I haven't got time, no problem. I'll get back to him.
Yeah, perfect. I think, when's the next election? 2024? Street Greener 2024? Yeah.
We've got time.
Yeah, perfect.
Anyway, right. So you've left university. You're thinking about politics now, obviously. So what happens then? Because I know you talk about your business and that.
Left university, came back home, and was doing the usual, like applying for jobs and stuff. And the thing is, with a lot of political jobs, so I wanted to go and be an advisor for an MP, or work in Westminster for a think tank or something like that. And probably didn't get enough experience myself whilst I was at uni. Was probably going out on the lash too much and not doing enough work experience. Naughty boy. Thought, what's a way that I can continue doing something that I love, and try and have an impact without having to, sit and wait for however long to try and get a job. Thought that starting a business would work perfectly. And we initially started off as trying to be sort of a pressure group for young people, and there's still an element of that we do, but because of coronavirus, we've had to change tack a little bit. So the initial thought was to go in and do workshops in schools and do questionnaires and surveys and take young people's opinions and then go and take those to politicians and influence them that way, and kind of be like a pressure group for young people's interests. obviously schools shut and wasn't able to go and do workshops in schools anymore, so I had to change a little bit. And one of the things that we always wanted to do was on our websites, we have articles written by young people. We have a podcast, and we've got plans in the works to do sort of different kind of YouTube series, all based around facilitating conversations and debates between people from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
And that's what we're focused on a lot more now. So we've become an independent media outlet in a lot of ways, that, you know, we're trying to do things a little bit differently, put young people's voices at the center of what we're doing. And, you know, not take the Good Morning Britain approach where you're getting two people and having an argument, but actually sitting people down and having, sitting people down and having productive conversations, learning from each other, and, you know, trying to change the way that people have discussions. Because as you say, I think it's really, really important that we start to do that, and we've got to try and find a different way to move forward, especially politically, because we can't go on.
It's not working.
Whether it be here or in the States, it's just not. It's not working.
Yeah,
someone's got to try and you know, find a new way to do things. So that was the whole philosophy behind it.
That's one good thing about Donald Trump. He makes us look good, doesn't he? We always look at
incredible.
We could be in America.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Especially in America.
I mean, it seems like it's getting closer and closer, but I mean, it's things are so nuts over there that really,
it's because I remember when, you know, when he got voted in, and there was a guy at work, and he used to be quite political, and we always used to have a bit of a chat and a laugh. And as it was getting nearer and nearer, I remember when Trump started running, everyone was like, hey, he'll never. And I said, money talks. He's got no experience. Power and money talks. And people don't like to admit that, but it does. And over there, it's showing. Because if he gets in again, if he gets in again, he's not getting in because he's a great president, is he? It's the little backhanders and the influence and what's done, who's done for what. And that is terrible, really, you know, because the people are not really having a say, but there's all sorts of, like, you know, nefarious voter suppression stuff going on over there. And, you know, Biden, in my opinion, is a terrible candidate as well, but it's like that lesser of two evils thing. Yeah, that's it. They were saying that, you know, people will vote for Trump because they want to vote for Trump. The problem is people will vote for Biden because there's no one else to vote for.
Yeah, it's just anybody but Trump. Exactly. You know, it's such a ridiculous situation.
I know.
When I started uni just after the Brexit vote, and as Trump was being elected.
Yeah.
So we weren't short of things to discuss on my course. But I remember going to open days, and I went to one at Essex University, and we were sat in a lecture, like a you know, sort of mock intro lecture, and the lecturer said, does anyone here actually think we'll vote to leave the EU? And the only people that put their hands up were me and my family. Everyone, we got laughed at for putting our hands up and say, like, you know, and I wasn't old enough to vote referendum, but I would have voted Remain if I had the vote. But I was sat there saying there was a massive chance that we vote to leave here. People are tired of you know, the political establishment, and not that Brexit will change the political establishment, but that's what it was sold as. You know, this is a vote against the establishment. And just like Donald Trump being elected, people will do anything for a change. You know, people are at such a loose end. Life is so difficult for so many people that they go, what have I got to lose? Surely it can't be worse than the position I'm in at the moment. You know, and it was that kind of, like, people, you know, going, surely we're not going to vote for this thing. That means that it'll happen. You can't take it for granted. Yeah,
and I'll tell you another thing, which this goes back to what we were talking earlier, because we've lost confidence in the politicians and stuff like that, and they obviously have in America. It's a fuck it vote.
Absolutely.
Fuck it. You know, I'm going to power to the people, because these MPs think they can do anything they want, think they are full of power. Well, we'll show them. You know, and that's what's happening in the world, I suppose.
Yeah. And the problem is that the people that peddle those views or those interests, so like Donald Trump saying vote for me and I'll drain the swamp, It's like Donald Trump is as establishment as it gets. He's a billionaire. He's had interests in politics, and he's donated to political parties for as long as he's been almost able to. He's as establishment as he gets. So him saying, "Oh, I'm not establishment. Vote for me." Yeah. It's like just the establishment saying that they're not establishment. It's just a tactic to get in. And then there's a little bit of the same with Brexit, I think. But as you say, people say, fuck it, what have I got to lose? Yeah. I really, can it get any worse? And the answer is yes, it can always get worse. It can almost always get worse. But I understand why, like we're saying, trying to understand people's intentions, completely understand why people feel like they're in that position. Because, as we were saying, politicians have done such a terrible job of doing their jobs. People feel so disconnected with what's going on. Now during COVID, I think more than ever, we see what's going on up north at the moment with these different lockdowns and stuff, and it's just a mess. It's such a mess.
I'll tell you something I saw in the media on the good old Daily Mail. Make me fucking howl. In one of the stories, I could probably find it, I can't be asked. They were saying something like Boris is he's favouriting the Southerners, that's why he's locking down up north, because he don't like Northerners. I mean, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Who writes this shit? You're going to tell me you agree now, aren't you?
Yeah. No, I don't think that it's because he doesn't like Northerners particularly. I don't think he's really. I think he does things that he thinks will increase his own popularity. I don't think there's any thinking like, oh, I don't like this group of people, so I'm going to do something to piss them off. I personally think that these lockdowns are ridiculous. There's no really rhyme or reason to them whatsoever. They're not working. I think it's just to show that they're doing something. And I do think there's an element of him not wanting to lock down London and the South.
So you agree then, eh?
Well, but maybe not for the same reasons. I think it's more because the people that have influence over the decision making in London don't want London to be locked down. So there's more repercussions for him personally if he locks down London or places in the south.
Khan said he does want it locked down, hasn't he?
Yeah, and there's political game playing on both sides. It's difficult because my view on the lockdown stuff is that if we want to reduce the number of cases that are about at the moment, the best way to do that in a really short and sharp way would be by locking the country down. We saw it before, it worked, it reduced the number of cases. It would decimate businesses.
Yeah.
People would lose their jobs, it would put people in an awful position. It would decimate industry, and there is the ability to put the financial protections there to protect people. I don't trust any politician at the moment to be able to do that properly.
Yeah.
So we can't do it. The only way we're going to be able to continue going on is by having as much testing as available as possible and a track and trace system that actually works. It's the only way you're going to be able to do it.
Yeah, I think what's really going to really cause a problem with this is if they do all these things, locking down areas, and then eventually we're locked down anyway. People are going to say, well, what was the point in doing all that crap in the first place?
Yeah, and I said when they ended it the first time that it's because I was sort of talking, we were talking at home and saying, should they extend it for a little bit longer and get everything in place to move forward correctly with testing and track and trace. And I said that it's the reason that I don't think there'll be another national lockdown is because, as you say, it's far more difficult to sell to the public. We're extending the first lockdown because everyone's in that frame of mind. It's easy for them to go, okay, right, this is shit, but we're already here. Then to say, go back and get your lives back to a little bit of normality again. And then, 3 months down the line or 2 months down the line, you say, actually, now we're locking down again. Yeah. People won't accept that. And that's what we've seen now, Liverpool and Manchester saying, up yours, we're not going to adhere to this stuff because, it's going to destroy us. And you can't blame them, really.
Yeah. It is a difficult one. I mean, it's a big juggling act, and You know, they're trying to deal with something that's just crazy. But I'll tell you one thing they all need to be careful of is, you know, this is history. This is history now. And it writes itself. Whatever they do now will be looked back on from years to come. And if they're making awful mistakes or things that they shouldn't be doing, it's going to come back to haunt them all, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I saw somebody, a tweet from someone that said exactly this, and they said, "Isn't it mad that we're all living in a future 20-mark history A-level question?" that is what we're doing at the the moment. You know, people will look back on this period and
you imagine being born now, and then in 20 years' time, you're at uni, you get questions on this about Donald Trump and Boris.
Yeah. What a mad time! People going, "What the fuck were they doing?"
How did our parents cope? Poor bastards.
Yeah, it is a crazy time. As you say, it's difficult, but there's the whole thing about, you know, we can't live in hindsight. I understand that. If it was dealt with more properly at the start, we wouldn't be in this mess at the moment, you know. And I think the way that they deal with this, it won't be something that they can just gloss over at the next election.
Definitely.
You can't just put this behind them. So
so obviously you finish uni, you start this enterprise up, and it's a you say it's a business.
Yeah.
How do you want to get this word out? You want to change things. How do you go about turning that into a business, though? Because I suppose it's difficult. You want to say all these things and do all these things. Do you have to apply for funding, or do you actually turn it into some kind of business? How does that work?
So initially, the idea was that we were going to go to schools and do workshops. So that would be an income stream. Then we were going to collect all this information, compile reports, and go to businesses and government departments and local administrations and commission reports for them as to how they can interact with young people better. And that was going to be the business model. That we could go to we could do a piece on climate change, and we could go to the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy and say, we want to commission a report for you as to how you can formulate policy that young people want to see tackling climate change. And that was going to be how we were going to set up, so that we could use that then to fund the website with the articles and the podcast. And eventually, as you build a following, you make money from that stuff. Obviously, we've had to change and overhaul the business plan now, and which is something that's continuously going on here. And I think we're looking more to the long term at the moment. It's almost impossible to start a business at the moment, or get a business off the ground at the moment. I started mine, and we're called Demographica, by the way, if anyone wants to find us.
We'll put links and everything in.
Sure. I started it with the support of the Prince's Trust.
Right, okay.
They're amazing. Anybody that even has a slight interest in wanting to start a business, or you've got some kind of idea, it's all free. You go on a 4-day enterprise course. There's loads of business experts there. They help you flesh out an idea at whatever stage it's at. Then you get a mentor for up to 3 years to guide you through everything, and you don't have to pay a penny. It's really amazing.
Yeah, that's great.
So they've been really helpful. And now, it's just adapting what we're doing, applying for funding, that kind of thing, to help us continue in the long run. But
is it quite stressful because you've got this message you want to get out, but you can't get it out until you've done the business side of it? So you're like, I wish I didn't have to stress about the business and I could just focus on it. Is that quite stressful?
Yeah, it is. It's frustrating because obviously there's lots of different organisations that have far more startup funds. Like we're the people that are involved. A lot of them are either met at university or they come from my local area. And it's not a rich area. I've been really lucky in that my parents have worked really, really hard to be able to support us, but at the same time we don't have like a loan that we can just get from mummy and daddy to help us start up the business and give us a massive leg up. So we are literally trying to build from the bottom up. And in the industry of media, where there is so much money and so much funding, that's really difficult.
Yeah.
But it's not something that we, sit around and mope about. We understand that that's the position that we're in, and we kind of use it to like fire us up. That kind of underdog sort of.
Jack, I'm a filmmaker. I totally understand. It's horrendous, but I think anything like that, it's all about your passion, isn't it? And that'll get you through. You just keep cracking on. You like you say, you're very passionate. You're very clear in where you want to go and what you're saying. And that'll see you through, regardless of, you could have all the money in the world, but at the end of the day, you have to be passionate. You have to want it. Right, so we had a bit of a drop in internet connection there, so we are professionals.
Yeah.
My one listener's going to be gutted. Anyway, so we were talking about funding, but we'll crack on from that anyway. So yes, so it is. I would guess it is stressful. So obviously, and you've got to adjust with everything that's happening, because I love the way you say that you are adjusting to what's happening, because I think that's a big thing people have got to learn. You've got this business model, and I think that's where some businesses are going to go under, because while this is happening, just keep taking the furlough, hoping it's all going to change. Shops need to go online and things like that. I like the way that you realise that, and you're trying to change to whatever the environment is at the minute.
Yeah. Everything's so competitive as well. I think there's. I've read some crazy statistic that there's been something like 13,000 new online businesses just in the COVID period.
Crazy, yeah.
So you have to adapt, and it's difficult for some industries, but if you don't find a way to change and adapt with the times, then
I mean, this has all been awful with this COVID, but I think the weak businesses, it's just finished them off. You know what I mean?
Well, you see it with like even the airplane businesses, airline, even bloody hell, even with the airline businesses, they operate on such a slim margin. They've a lot of them have found that it's not just small business. It's not just small businesses.
It'll make people wake up a lot more and think, am I putting all my eggs in one basket now?
Yeah,
I think people will definitely think, we've got to be careful. We can't rely on everything just from this stream. But anyway,
no, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what I was going to say was that we're all so passionate about it anyway that I'd do this sort of thing for free. So to the fact that it's put us in this position means that for us it's not the end of the world. It's like I can, we've all had to look at other work opportunities to keep us going through the long haul, but we all still want to carry on doing it because this is what we love to do. And for me as well, it is, this is even just being able to sit down and have conversations. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I would hopefully do this sort of thing for the rest of my life anyway, because it's just what I enjoy doing.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. For me, I don't make any money out of it, but you just keep doing it because you're passionate and you love it. That's what you want to do.
Exactly.
And maybe one day you will get paid very well for it. And who knows? I'm sure you will, Jack. You're still young, and I'll vote for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But that's the thing. You never know when, you never know what opportunities are going to arise and when they're going to come. And, you just need one lucky break and you're the next Joe Rogan,
Well, I'll take it. I'll take that. Right. So future-wise then, where do you see yourself going for the future? Maybe COVID's all calmed down a bit then. And obviously you speak about we. So I guess you've got a team of guys.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so there's myself and I, sort of run the day-to-day operations that I'm involved in all of the podcasts and the articles and different ideas that we have. We have a guy called Brett Lee, who is our podcast manager and he hosts our podcast. Alex DeBoyk, who manages our article page, he's our editor.
Great name, that is.
Alex DeBoyk, yeah. Gabe Hunt, Gabe Hunt, who is our editor. And so yeah, you know, video editor, that kind of stuff. And we've just brought in a guy called Mason, who is going to be helping us with some directing and producing for some of the shows that we're planning in the future. So we've got lots of different ideas. I'm really lucky, we've got an amazing team.
Yeah.
And you know, it's all stuff that we all knew each other before, and luckily there's been sort of roles that have been available that everyone's passionate about. So you know, Brett loves radio and producing and hosting the podcast. Alex wants to be a publisher or would love to go into publishing, so he loves doing the article editing. Mason's a director. He did film at university, so he loves that side of things. So I've just been really fortunate to find loads of really talented people that want to be involved. And you know, as I say, we've got loads of ideas going forward. So in an ideal world in the future, we can just continue working hard and fleshing out those ideas and start getting those up and running. You know, we've got loads of different ideas for YouTube series and YouTube shows that we want to film. You know, same with the podcast and the article space, and just really pushing that side of it, the new media side of it, to continue our goal of giving young people a place to talk about these issues. And that's the view for the focus. For the
so I would guess your goal is then that if you can take that one young person that thinks, like I said earlier, thinks politics is a waste of time, and actually show them that they have got a voice and they can be involved and they are interested. I suppose that's what you're after doing. Yeah,
and exactly, and just changing that one person's mind, and I'm happy in getting that one person involved, and I'm happy. And the thing that it fills me with hope, but it also pisses me off, the amount of young people that we have come to us who have amazing work, you know, articles that are more insightful and in depth and well thought out than any of the shit that you can read in any of the mainstream outlets. You know, and they don't have the opportunity to publish this stuff or share this stuff, and they're so grateful. Like, thank you so much for allowing us to share this. And I'm like, no, thank you for writing it. You know, it's like we couldn't do what we do without the contributions that we get from passionate young people. And it excites me for the future, because I think we're really lucky to have so many talented young people that are gonna, you know, take over power hopefully one day and do things way better, and, you know, be writing better articles or be changing the way that media works. But it's just allowing those people to have that opportunity, because the amount of people that probably want to do this stuff or are passionate about this stuff but don't have the means, and then get switched off and resentful and they don't get involved, you know, it must be ridiculous. So that's the goal for us. That's the goal for us.
Yeah, that's where the passion kicks in, I think, is when you see missed opportunity or missed talent, and you think, God, you know, this person could have done brilliantly, but like you say, because the system's chewed them up, spat them out, hasn't dealt them the right cards, and they've just thought, sod it. You know, you think, God, what a waste. So I think, you know, what you're doing is a brilliant thing, Jack, because, you know, you've got the passion and you're trying to spot that in young people. And the way you talk and that, I definitely think you'll definitely energize and push people in the right direction and help people without a doubt, compared to, like you say, some of these Marcus Joneses that are bloody useless.
Yeah. Cheers. I really appreciate that, and I appreciate you know, like, having me on to let me rant about it today.
No problem. It's been an absolute pleasure. Okay, so I always ask my guests for a favourite, whether it's a film, TV, book, but the main thing is it's accessible by anyone. So if you say it's this, they can go on Amazon, buy it or watch it or whatever. So what favourite have you come up with today?
I really struggled with this because there's so much to choose from, obviously. So I just picked the book that I've read most recently, and I've got it here. It's called The New Silk Roads by Peter Frankopan, and it's you know, following the theme. It's sort of like social and political. It's about China emerging as the world's new superpower, and the way that they're doing that, and sort of funding these massive projects in the Middle East and in Africa, and it's really, really interesting. It's predicting how the world's going to look in sort of 10, 15, 20 years time. It's really worth a read. It's really well written. So Yeah, that was why I could have picked so many different things, but that's I thought that was the easiest.
People always say that to me. It's the same with me. People say your favourite film, and it's like, I don't know, it depends what time of day it is or where it was or whatever. But that's a great choice, and especially in the current climate. I mean, it's quite ironic. My wife deals with shipping from China. She deals with all that kind of thing, and it's quite ironic that obviously that it stemmed. This COVID is stemmed in whatever form or however from there, and they're busier than ever because everyone's online buying stuff from China. So you do think, hold on a sec, are they, these Chinese?
No, I mean the stuff that they're doing to have influence all over the world is really crazy, and they're fast approaching the US for being the richest nation on earth, and they're going to overtake them in a pretty rapid way. So it's something that we all need to be aware of, and it's a really interesting, but there's some crazy stuff going on over there at the moment. I don't know if you know about this, they're committing a genocide against the Uyghur people currently. There's the suppression in Hong Kong that's going on. So it's really important that we're all aware of, what's going on over there, because it will impact us.
Definitely. Okay, so if people want to go on your website or want to go on Twitter, all that kind of thing, tell us all those links and everything.
We are, our website is www.demographicauk.com, and we are at Demographica UK on every social media platform. Our podcast is called the Demographicast. It's on all of the usual podcast platforms, on our YouTube page as well. So if you want to learn more about us and what we do, then that's where you go. And if you want to write an article or something, then get in touch with us and we'll make it happen. And
Brilliant stuff. Send me all those links, and then I can put them all in the show notes and everything.
Perfect.
But no, that sounds brilliant. And I always say at the end of every conversation, sort of, if you had some sort of wise words of wisdom or advice for someone, I don't know whether they're getting into politics or you could be a young person.
Maybe just following on from the theme that we were just talking about, and find something that you love doing and then pursue it as hard as you can, especially if you're a young person and there's something that you enjoy. Life's too short to not follow the things that you're passionate about and that you love. So that would be my advice, and that's certainly what I'm really lucky to be able to be doing at the moment. So that would be my words of slight wisdom.
Slight wisdom. 22. You met me sick. 22 years old. So clever. Makes me sick. I'll still vote for you though when you're MP.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me on today as well.
An absolute pleasure, Jack. Now, make sure, obviously, next year, everything gets sorted and things calm down a little bit. So make sure you come back on the show next year.
I'd be delighted to.
And we'll catch up, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
See where we are then.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, Jack.
And you.
I really look forward to speaking to you again.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks ever so much. Take care. God bless. And I'll speak to you soon.
Cheers.
So that's it. Massive thanks again to Jack Street for joining me today, and also you for listening. Make sure you follow the podcast, because coming up over the next months, there are some extraordinary interviews just like this one. Absolutely brilliant guests. It'll be streaming. This podcast will be streaming on the usual platforms, iTunes, Spotify. So please leave a rating on there and subscribe and like. It's very important. To keep up to date, follow Facebook, which is My Way of Thinking Podcast, and also I'm on Twitter, My Way of Thinking with a 3 on the end instead of G. Long story. Every week I also put the whole conversation on YouTube, so you can see my beautiful beard that's coming on very nicely. And if you put My Way of Thinking Podcast on YouTube, we are on there as well. And finally, if you'd like to get in touch or you think you may be a great guest, then email me. My email is mawatpodcast@aol.com. Thanks ever so much for listening in today. I thought it was a great podcast. I hope you enjoyed it too. Until next time, God bless. I'll speak soon.